On today's show, we're going to talk about 3 things the Utah Hockey Club must do to make the playoffs next year on the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in once again to the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. I'm veteran NHL voice Tom Callahan, and joined by longtime team analyst Robyn Leaño. We are the dynamic duo that brings you the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast each and every single day. Yes, we will be here 5 days a week, right up through the draft and free agency. Take you on into the summer. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every single day. If you like what you hear, please feel free to subscribe. I know it's early in the show, but give us a minute, and I think you'll like it enough to want to stick around. And we thank those of you who are the everydayers and the longtime listeners and viewers who do subscribe. Thank you for your support. Today's show, as we get the ball rolling here, 3 things Utah must do to make the playoffs. Yes, we have our opinions on this, and it's a tough Western Conference out there. I want to tell everybody this episode's brought to you by the Amazon Fire TV Stick 4K. Turn any TV into your Xbox. No console needed. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to learn more. Rob, the Western Conference playoffs are just difficult to navigate. When you look at right now the West versus the East, it's pretty obvious to me that the West is tougher, more competitive, just harder to find your place in. And any of the top 8 teams having gotten in really does have a chance to make it all the way to the final. I think this is an incredibly competitive conference.
I said it yesterday, Tom, and I'll say it again today. The parity in this conference is incredible. It really just shows you how, it really is anyone's game in this conference. And to be honest, even though you're having some intense battles in the East, you're having some good games and I guess some physical battles, but over in the West, I think to me, and again, this is my opinion, but I feel like we're getting treated to the better hockey over on the West.
Look at the series. We talk about the East, and as of our recording here, you're probably catching this on a Tuesday here at the end of April, but as of our recording, everything in the East is basically 3-1, and everything in the West is a toss-up. It's 2-2 or close to 2-2, as we haven't had Colorado-Dallas finish their game yet. But it's so competitive. Minnesota, where did Minnesota come from? And they're giving Vegas fits. St. Louis, charging into the playoffs. I wondered if they might run out of gas. Nope. They're right there even with the Winnipeg Jets. And Winnipeg is on upset alert. And we just talked about it, Colorado-Dallas. That's a great series. And then Kings-Oilers meeting for the 4th straight time in the first round. This is another series where there's a lot of animosity. And so it's competitive, it's difficult, and Robyn, to improve yourself enough to be one of those top 8 teams, there are some things you've got to do, some improvements to be made for the Utah Hockey Club that, look, they made improvements this year. First of all, please let us say that we know they got better.
Big strides since the last 2 years. I'll count 2 years prior rather than just 1 year. The last 2 years combined of the then known Arizona Coyotes.
Playoffs weren't even a conversation.
No. The previous season, I had a little bit of hope, not that they would make it in, but that they would make some noise, they'd make some chaos, kind of stir the pot a little bit, be close to there with it for a couple of weeks, then kind of fall out, which they did do. They kind of but then Arizona went on this massive slump towards the end in 2024, and it just looked really bad. It ended up going towards the bottom of the league later on, but still major improvement.
I don't think it helped everything swirling around the team, quite honestly. I think
because the initial rumor of Salt Lake getting a team Arizona wasn't mentioned at the time, but the Salt Lake getting a team was around All-Star break around there-ish, right? So, and I think maybe because somebody put the idea that Coyotes would move there, that kind of probably they probably very well put a cloud over their head, not because they didn't know. They no one was saying anything to them, and all that. They kind of did possibly affect their play. They won't admit it. Of course they won't. But I mean,
it's a distraction.
Yeah, the timing is just too coincident for it not to be a distraction at that point. But that's now in the past, and I think everyone's happy to be in Salt Lake City. They're happy to be a part of the Utah Hockey Club franchise.
Robyn, in order for me, I think, to start stating my case about things that I need to see improve, I kind of want to talk about a little bit of where this team finished and what they, I think, did well this year, but didn't also do well. So one of the things, okay, this one's very obvious. They improved in points. Okay. They went from a team that, as we just talked about, it was not a conversation for the playoffs at all. It just wasn't. But now at the end of this year, even though things didn't go their way towards the end, Robyn, at least we're now having the conversation. And that's huge to me.
It is huge because, like, from last year going into this past season, some of the conversation was like, oh, they're making moves and they're still trying to be a competitive team. Not this year. Well, I mean, there'll be a competitive team this year, but not a playoff team this year. But there will be a playoff team maybe next year or the next 2 years after that. It really, like, it's to me, I knew what Bill Armstrong was doing, kind of going into everything, right? Focusing on playing that a little bit of a longer game, kind of understanding that there is a timeline here. And that's where we're at now, right? We're talking about that. That's why we're getting to this part now, where we can actually say, hey, this team can make the playoffs next year if they do this.
So, Robyn, I'm going to start with my number one, and you could feel free to agree. You could feel free to disagree. One of the ones later on is going to be a big time softball for you, because I know you might actually beat me to it, but that's why I'm leaving it till later in my list.
Okay.
But the first one, to me, Utah has to do to make the playoffs is define an identity. And I mean by that this: stop telling me who you're supposed to be and play like it.
Mm-hmm.
They have not played like what I've been told they're supposed to be like. I haven't seen it. We keep talking big, physical, Bill Armstrong mold. Go out there. Let's blow some people through the glass. That's not this team. Go ahead.
I said going into the draft last year. Remember, Tom, I had this conversation with you going into the draft, and I'm like, look out for this. Bill Armstrong is going to draft 6'4", 215-pound monsters who can actually be physical along the boards and just play overall physical hockey, but also still have that fast and high skill level talent. And he did that, right? He did draft those kind of players. And he's been drafting those kind of players. The issue is some of those kind of players aren't playing that way. And they're focused. They want to try to be the fast team. They want to be like the Edmonton Oilers and the high pace skill. And to me, I feel like that's forced.
And Edmonton's not winning a cup. You know who plays like that and could win a cup again this year? St. Louis. You know who else plays a team tough game? And that's the thing. You can be team tough. You don't have to go out there and punch people in the face for 82 games. I don't think that's sustainable in today's NHL.
Oh, yeah. No, we're not looking for another Broad Street bullies. We don't want, you literally just want, and you mentioned this, Tom, and how exactly you want this team to be. Is they want that physical aspect to be able to knock the body away from the puck, to be able to force those turnovers and enforce your way to crash the net, to be able to provide you more high danger opportunities up in your own zone.
I will know this team has arrived to the degree that I want them to as a physical hockey team when a defenseman goes back to retrieve a puck behind the net and has to look over his shoulder. That will be your number one sign. Because if the defenseman is too comfortable that he can just either A, listen to the goalie, or B, make a read off the glass because you're nowhere near him and there's no danger of a check being finished on him behind the net, and they're not going to try to rush that first pass, all of those things lead to good breakouts for the other team. Until Utah is in that space, I'm not convinced.
And see, no, I haven't. There's still a level of understanding that I have that I'm not going to expect. Let's say if you have a theoretical top line, and I mean, it could be a top line, but I'm going to say theoretical in this case because Coach Tourney can really switch things up really and put players wherever you want. But say a theoretical top line of Cooley, Gunther, and Keller, right? Those are all skill-based players. You're not going to expect them to play that kind of game, right? They're to be the ones that they're your snipers, your playmakers, the ones who are actually going to go and attack the net and use their skill to do that. But that's why we have 4 lines of hockey, right? Because you have the other 3 lines who can do that.
Yeah, that's We definitely have more that we want to cover. We got a couple more points to make, Robyn. I do want to wrap this one up, though, as well. So why don't we go ahead, grab a quick break. We also have a couple other things that Utah's got to do to make the playoffs, and a Utah hockey clubber who's going to the World Championships. Yes, another one. We'll tell you about it in just a moment. And today's show is brought to you in part by Game Time. Oh, the Stanley Cup playoffs are here. And if you've never been to a live NHL playoff game, honestly, it's unlike anything else. Like the intensity, the speed, the energy, the building, you feel like the roof's going to come off. It's incredible. And thanks to Game Time, getting in the door is easier and more affordable than ever. Game Time is the fastest way to grab playoff tickets, even for those must-see matchups. Prices actually drop as puck drop gets closer. With last-minute deals, you can save up to 60%. So when you're buying for sports, 60% off is great, but it also works for concerts, comedy, theater, any kind of live show. And toggle on the all-in pricing. I always tell you about this. Please do it. It just shows you what you're paying out the door. There's no surprise fees at checkout. And with the Game Time ticket coverage, I know I'm protected. So whether it's cancellation protection, job loss assurance, or their 24-hour return guarantee. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here with you. And all right, what do you think? Time to subscribe? I think it's time to subscribe. So thanks to those of you who already do. And give us a thumbs up if you're on the YouTube side. Click the like button and the bell while you're at it so you get the notification when we drop our new shows. 3 things that Utah Hockey Club must do to make the playoffs next year, plus a Utah Hockey Clubber. Another one going to the Worlds. That's 5 now from the organization heading to the World Championships. Robyn, I just wanted to kind of wrap up a thought, and then let's get to your first of your points about what it's like when I'm talking about what difference does it make to play physical? What do you think the mood was like in that room, on and off the ice, with and without Liam O'Brien? And O'Brien was a healthy scratch for a while, but you know what he did? He worked his butt off. Is he Cam Neely? No. And if you're too old for the Cam Neely reference, maybe there's another power forward I'll come up with here. Maybe a Sam Bennett. Is he that player? No. Is he Kachuk brother? No. But he brings that energy. He brings that, that style and that just eagerness to get in and play the game he loves so much. This team was better, undeniably, with him in the lineup, even if he wasn't playing his best hockey. And I mean, the guy he's a 4th line guy, but they need more of that through the lineup.
there's something to be said about, and I'm referring to them as the modern day enforcer because the term enforcer in hockey has evolved over time, right? It used to be literally the guy who literally just go out there just to fight people, right? Nowadays, it's literally these are the guys that just kind of get out there, and they are kind of bullies, but they are still forwards. They actually they have an aspect, but they use that level of physicality to boost the morale, right? Because they kind of go after they're out there essentially to protect your stars, right? And they're doing that. They're also just saying, "Hey, you don't do this to my team, or else I will beat you up. like I will fight you. Like I will."
You're not getting away with it. So, all right, Robyn, in the interest of time, well, let's move on from that topic because I could do a whole show based on identity, but I need to hear what your one of your 3 things that Utah must do to make the playoffs. So maybe we'll just make between the two of us, we'll come up with 3.
Yeah, that absolutely seems fair. And I think this is undeniably an obvious one, right? They have to figure out a way, whether it's a better coaching style for it or just them figure it out themselves, how to be better on that special teams.
Yeah. There's not too many ways to hide this or sugarcoat it. It was bad. The power play got hot, and that's a weird thing is it would get hot for little pieces of time, and you'd think, oh, they got it solved. Oh, we're good now. And but it didn't stay that way. And Robyn, it was clearly frustrating, wasn't it? I mean, we would think to ourselves, boy, if they could only right now find a way to get the power play rolling. If they could only, and they look, the power play finished 10th, 24.2%. So the thing is, this is the frustrating thing for me about the power play. It's not so much that it was bad percentage wise. They did put some pucks in the net, but not timely. I want timely power play production. And there were times where I felt like the power play could have won them games or put them back in games, and it just failed to show up. So, look, 25% is pretty good.
There were some cases, Tom, in which it felt like the power play was at a disadvantage to them. It almost felt like they were on the penalty kill for some reason.
Yeah, it was, and these little stretches of time, and Robyn was like, Tom, you're harping, you're being too critical, you're overthinking this. What was the gap? How many points could the power play have gotten them with 3 more goals? Could it have been 6 more points? Could that have been the difference?
Yeah, could this have been a 95-point team?
Yeah, I don't disagree. And the penalty kill, again, penalty killing is just effort. Robyn, that was another thing. It was streaky. It was on, it was off. At the end of the year, the penalty kill, I mean,
I've had more concern.
Mid-pack.
Like the penalty kill, I feel like to me, it was consistently within the mediocre. Like they were never great, but they were never also they had streaks of absolutely terrible, but to me, I felt like it was at least a little bit more consistency on that. And it was really the power play to me. Like the power play was just way too streaky. And I'm like, they got to figure it out. They have to figure out what works for them. What's the system that works for them? It's because it really did baffle me because let's say sure, you're not going to get, let's say if you get 4 power plays in a game, you're not going to always, convert on at least 1 in every single game if you have 4 power plays. But that's, that's at least, that should be your goal, right? On at least 1 of 4 every single game.
Can I give you a ray of sunshine why I think it should improve next year?
Okay, let's hear it.
My ray of sunshine why it should improve next year is healthier defense. I think that alone will help settle the power play down. I think the talent is there for this to be a top 10, top 5 power play unit in the NHL. But again, it's consistency. Actually, you know what? The one thing here, I'm even going to reduce to the ridiculous on this. The one thing I'd like to see better for Utah Hockey Club in the power play is zone entries. I thought their zone entries were questionable at times. There were teams that could stand them up so well and force them to turn the puck over at the line and just clear it right back out.
They'd try to force their way in into like very unclean situations, which is annoying. Like, you know, even though there are a lot of fans who hate it, like sometimes, like if you feel like you're put into a tough situation, like I don't care if you have to dump and chase. If that's what you have to do to at least get it into the zone, like
there's
do
nothing
it.
wrong with that. I don't know
Yeah.
why everybody's like, oh, I can't dump and chase. That's not what I want for my team. Why not? If you win the battle and get the puck back, who cares?
Yeah, I mean, at that case, you can also establish a forecheck, right? At that point, you're putting that penalty kill. If you're on the power play, you're putting that penalty kill up in their own corner. They have 4 skaters. You got 5. You have the man advantage. You can use that to your advantage.
Yes, that's how it works. You burn the extra man in the offensive zone when you're on the penalty kill, so you come out with the puck. All right, Robyn, let's try to come up with one more between the two of us here. I have one I think you're going to like, so I'm going to drop that one on you next.
And today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel, place your bets on your first $5 bet, and you'll get a $200 in bonus bets if that bet wins. You know, I love how FanDuel makes everything so easy on finding those bets and taking a look at who my favorite team is going to be, take a look at the player props. It has everything all conveniently located into one. I can look at the 3-pointers, I can look at steals, I can look at assists, and it has all those. And really easy and able to just add the bet slip. And when the game tips off, even afterwards, you can combine live prop bets into a same game parlay, which is some of the things I love to do, for a chance to win big. You know, it's a really opportunity to really have some fun, take a look and see exactly how to strategize those picks, you can get some good payouts. It's really a really fun thing to do. I really love and highly recommend checking out FanDuel. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here, back with you on the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. All right, Robyn, before we talk about who else is going to the Worlds for Utah here, this is something that is the hallmark of those halcyon bygone Coyotes days and needs to stop. We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, talking about special teams, but Robyn, consistency. They must become a consistent team. And I think if you build your identity and if you understand who you are and what you're supposed to be, consistency should naturally follow that, because you play a certain way, you do that every time. And I am going to say it, I am sick and tired of waiting for the last 4 years. Every time, that's all I've heard out of Armstrong and Tornius. Well, we didn't do it tonight. We didn't do it tonight, but we did it tonight. But we did it tonight, but we didn't do it tonight. When does that stop? When do you look? Give me 70 games out of 82.
The first couple of games, I was like, okay, this is a young team, so I get it. But this team's been together now for such a long time that you figure like they'd have the level of chemistry, they'd understand how each other work, they'd understand their game, and they'd also got a chance to grow and become better players overall. The skill talent is getting better. It's just we're still seeing those gaps, those low gaps, and you're right. They do have to figure out a way to stay consistent. And I feel like, you mentioned it. If the other two fall into place, consistency will come. Right? If this team knows and they understands their identity and they play their game, and it doesn't matter if they're playing the Sharks, it doesn't matter if they're playing the Florida Panthers or whatever, they still play their game because they stick to that.
I would like to see the day where they stop hiding behind we're a young team. It's an excuse. It's become an excuse. Like,
Yeah.
and I've said this before. Oh, well, this is an excuse, but it's a reason. Like injuries. Injuries are a reason, not an
Yeah.
excuse. But oh, they're a young team. They're coming together. They're figuring it out. They've been a young team for a long time now.
Yeah. And they've been a young team. Yeah, now for a while. But also, like, I remember, they've been. It's a few years in the National Hockey League. You have played. A lot of these players have played 82 games in the season, 3 times over, 4 times over. Like, they know how this works at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's I mean, there is no substitute for experience, but now better than half of this roster is experience. So the time has come next year to stop saying we're a young team. You have to be a now team. To me,
Yeah.
that's a big one. So
yeah, and I think that's the thing too, is like, if you really have the whole thing about, the youth of this team, like, I mean, like, I'm not saying it's the best idea, but like, again, maybe the team maybe even already has it, right? We talked like have a team quote dad, right? They're the ones that actually like yeah, sure, it'll be fun to play with them. They're goofy, but at the end of the day, like, they also will be like, all right, you got to play better, and they actually, still coaching these guys.
yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And that's, why you try to hang on to a guy like Cole, why you try to hang on to a guy like Mata, and you put them in those roles and you want them to be that player. So, which is why it'll also be interesting to see if Nick Bukestad is back next year, or they might look elsewhere to see who might fill that kind of role. But that's another episode. That is something else we're going to talk about. All right, Robyn, any of those you want to argue to change and knock out of the top 3? Do you have one you want to slide in instead?
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's anything I'd move out of that, because I feel like, to me, like, those are the 3 pressing things that just really need to get better at. And if they do get better at that, if they do improve on those, yeah, I think this team will make the playoffs next year.
Absolutely. They are certainly capable of it. This roster is constructed, which will change over the summer, but still, it's pretty darn good as it is right now. There's a lot of talent here. All right, Robyn, World Championships. Yet another Utah Hockey Club player is heading overseas, and this time it is for Team Germany.
It is for Team Germany. Maximilian Szuber being called up to the to Team Germany to represent the country in the IIHF World Championship. Maximilian Szuber spending the majority of his season, and really, let's say 100% of the season, practically, with the Tucson Roadrunners. And I think that's why it wasn't announced yet, because they had to wait until Tucson was officially out.
Right. Right. And Tucson now is officially out after that 3-game series loss to Abbotsford. As a 22-year-old, though, not too bad in the AHL. 7 goals, 25 assists, 32 points, 47 penalty minutes in 65 games. So half a point a game, not bad for a defenseman. And he's a big dude. I mean, 6'3", 190. I'd love to see him at 6'3", 220. But yeah, 60 points in 135 career AHL games. So all of them with Tucson, and now he's got 5 games of Calder Cup playoff experience as well. So now on to a bigger world stage for the World Championships of Germany. So Max, good luck. Have fun over there. And it's going to be an awful lot of fun keeping an eye on Pool B. Oh,
yeah. I feel like at that point, you know what? Like I said, like I was saying, if you send me to Stockholm, you know what? Just send me to Denmark first. I will go.
We are going to buy you the Eurail pass so that you may travel freely between the locations.
There
and
you go.
We
got to figure out a good way, like a good midway point between the two. Like, am I going to stay in Copenhagen or like?
Yeah, don't worry. We'll figure out how to spend David Locke's money. It'll be fine. We'll figure out how to spend it. So that's maybe a river cruise while you're there. So we'll see.
Get a Viking cruise. River cruise.
That would be cool. That would be very cool. So, Robyn, I would, if you went over there, that would be nuts. But either way, we're going to keep an eye on what's going on with the World Championships as now. So Team USA Czechia, and Germany all have Utah Hockey Club players on them. So, all right, that's pretty much it for the show. Robyn, if do you have anything else you want to add, first of all?
No, again, I think we covered a lot on this. Just say, guys, to keep tuning into these shows. We have a lot other these 3 things list to kind of get you guys tuned in of any different things. We also, Tom, we will start, I think, later this month, or actually next month, I should say. At this point, we'll start doing report card week.
Oh, yes. We are going to give grades. I don't know if we'll give gold stars, but we are going to give grades A through F. And somebody failed.
And there will be plus and minuses.
Yes, absolutely. So we will get into that. But yes, that's a great lead to let folks know that we're going to have report card week coming up here. So everybody will indeed be graded. So Robyn, if folks want to reach out to us on social media, where can they find us?
They can find us just about everywhere on social media, primarily most active on the app formerly known as Twitter at LO_NHL Utah. You can also find us on Blue Sky at Locked On Utah Hockey. I am personally on Twitter at Robyn_Leaño and at Robyn Icetime on Blue Sky.
On Blue Sky, I'm at Tom Talks, Twitter at Callahan on Air. And we appreciate you being a part of the show. Let us know what you think. What 3 things would you have? Give us your 3 things list. If it differs from ours, that's fine. You're just wrong. But no, seriously, let us know what your thoughts are and reach out to us for that. Comments have been great lately. We love it. Keep it coming. And thank you so much once again for being a part of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.